Hey Guru Nation, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. So I got a really good video topic today from someone in this industry, and they just wanted me to kind of give my advice. This video is about how to advance your career in this industry, right? In the clinical research industry. And I guess this can apply to any industry because a lot of these are going to be universal principles that you hear about in other industries, and I've seen with my own eyes in this industry. There are many ways to do it. One of the things I like about this industry is most people end up starting in clinical research on accident. I mean, some people purposely apply for research positions because they know someone who's a CRA, or they know someone who's a clinical research coordinator, or they just stumbled upon an ad on Craigslist and they did some Googling and they saw what clinical research was all about. But most people, myself included, get started in this industry on accident. And then you sort of figure out quickly, for some quickly, for others it takes a while, you figure out whether you like this industry or not. Many don't and quit, but the majority stay, all right? And then you figure out sort of where you fit best, all right? Like what position. So where you start typically does not mean that's where you're going to spend the rest of your career in this industry. And that's probably true in every industry now, but I can only speak about clinical research. I started out as a study coordinator, right? I wanted to go to med school, so during college, I actually volunteered at a research clinic, where my dad had some business partners, and they were running a very small clinical research site. And so, as an intern, I would go in there and I would do their phase 4 studies, which were pretty simple studies. You give a patient a survey, they fill it out, you enter the data in an EDC system, and that's it. That was the end of the study. So that was my start. Then I went back to school, finished. I wanted to go to med school, so I wanted more research experience on my resume because I thought that would be a differentiating factor for me to get considered to go to med school. So I worked as soon as I graduated college. The plan was to work for a year or two, first as a study coordinator, then as a CRA, because I learned enough about the industry at that point to know what a CRA was. I knew that's where the big bucks were, and I knew that if I wouldn't get into med school because my grades were not that good, so there was a very likely chance that I would not get accepted into med school, that I would need to have a career, and a good paying career. So I knew about CRA, which is clinical research associate, and so that's the route I went. So study coordinator first, and then I'm not going to get into my story entirely because that's on my bio. You can go find it there. But one thing led to another. I ended up owning a site, and now many sites, and now I do consulting. Now I do CRA training. I do a good deal of patient recruitment, market, like all kinds of stuff. So I'm not where I was 10 years ago when I started, and most people are not. So most people, if they stay in this industry even 2 years, they're probably doing something different than they were when they got started. No one's the same. So people take different routes. There's a very common one is the medical assistant. So to be a medical assistant, you don't even need a bachelor's degree, but busy research clinics need medical assistants because they can do vital signs, they can draw blood, they can process labs, they can do ECGs, they can do all kinds of assistant things, helping the PI, helping the coordinator. We've actually had many medical assistant interns and employees at my different research clinics throughout the years. So they get started there. But then the good thing about research is, as a study coordinator, you actually don't even need a bachelor's degree. There's no educational requirement for study coordinator, right? Technically, there's not even an educational requirement to be a principal investigator. There's nothing in the FDA guidelines that say a PI must be an MD. In fact, I know a handful of principal investigators who are not MDs. They're PhDs, they're different degrees, but that's not the norm, all right? In most industry-sponsored trials, the PI needs to be an MD. And we're going to get into PIs and how they can advance their careers in this industry as well. So you don't need any degree to be a coordinator, right? What you do need, preferably, is some experience. And you get that experience by being a research assistant, right? So a medical assistant with no college education, right? Just a trade school, and I'm not downplaying the importance of being just a trade school, no bachelor's degree. They can become a coordinator, right? At the same clinic, preferably at the same clinic that they started. And the way you do this is you become valuable to the company, right? And how do you become valuable? You not only do the things that are required for your job, because that's average. Everyone does that, right? And the ones who don't ultimately get fired. So you don't want to be average. You want to be great, right? So you go above and beyond your duties as a medical assistant, right? Perfect example. We had a medical assistant at a startup research clinic. She was assisting 2 other coordinators and myself. I was the site director. I was also doing regulatory, contracts, and budgets, right? This was a startup clinic. She was an intern. Didn't get paid anything. She finished all her duties that day. Notice that the coordinators were short on some of the supplies that they needed to actually conduct vital signs. I believe it was a battery for the thermometer or something like that. So no one asked her. She went to the store, all right, with her own money, because we were all busy. She went to the store, bought batteries, brought it back, and then we found out that she did this. We thanked her for this. And she would do things like this regularly, right? And you don't do it with an expectation of advancing your career. If you go out of your way to make other people's jobs easier and you become indispensable, you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself a promotion, or at least continuing your career with that company, right? So that's one example. Another example is a study coordinator at a busy clinic who, when activity gets slow, without anyone asking them, they go out and recruit patients for the study, right? They're actually, think about this, they're going out, they're getting paid hourly. So it doesn't matter whether they see 5 patients that day or 0 patients that day, they get paid the same. There's no activity at the site. They go recruit patients without anyone telling them to do this. They go recruit patients to give them more work, right? For which they're not going to get paid anything extra. I mean, these are the little things that make you indispensable, and that over a period of time, if you're consistent, will attract the attention of the supervisors, the study coordinator, whoever's in charge to put you onto the next level. So this coordinator can easily become site director. I mean, they're indispensable, okay? So with CRAs, I can't speak from firsthand experiences because I've never been a CRA. I've only heard from other CRAs, but I'm sure similar concepts would apply. I'm reading a really good book. It's actually fitting for this video. It's called Help the Helper. So you go out of your way. In fact, this is what they talk about in this book. You go out of your way to make a colleague's job easier. Eventually, if you continue doing this and you're consistent, and this is not easy, all right? It takes selflessness to do this, right? If you make someone's job easier and you make other people look good, it's eventually going to come back to you, right? It's in a good way. Whatever position you got started in clinical research, there is always opportunities to advance your career, right? So same thing for physicians, by the way, licensed MDs. They usually get started as sub-investigators, which are essentially assisting the principal investigators on their studies. So they're not responsible for the entire conduct of the trial. They're just responsible for certain assessments that the PI, the principal investigator, delegates to them. Well, sub-Is, generally, if they like research, it's not difficult for a sub-I to become a PI eventually, within a year or two, right? Now, what do you do when you're a PI, right? If you're a PI and you work for a site and you have aspirations of owning your own site, you have several options. You can approach the site you currently work at, make them an offer, say, hey, give me 20% equity. You don't need to pay me anymore. I'm just going to take 20% of the profits, just like you take X percentage of profits for being an owner. Or I will go start my own site. Like, you have options, okay? Everybody in this industry has multiple options. CRAs have options to own their own sites, and many of my best clients are CRAs, right? They're full-time CRAs. They started their own research sites as well, small, but they make good money. And they hire because they know the systems, they know the people they need. They know what a study coordinator is supposed to do. They hire people to run their site, and they do both, and they have multiple streams of income. So there's always opportunities in this industry to advance your career, and I think going out of your way to help other people, doing the little things, it sounds cliche, but it's really not. Eventually it works, but here's the catch. You can't fake it. You can't just do it twice and expect something in return. You do it consistently. You got to be genuine about it. Eventually people are going to notice. You're going to have opportunities, right? So that's my video for today. I'd like to hear some of your experiences of how you got started in this industry, and then where you currently are, and then what your aspirations are. Because, by the way, my aspirations are not done, all right? I'm trying to reverse engineer my way from research site owners to consultant and research site owners to training CRAs and site owner and consultant to owning a CRO, which we're well on our way of doing, to getting our first project, to eventually getting equity in a biotech. I have aspirations also. 10 years from now, I'm not going to be, God willing, at the same place I am today, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. However, there's nothing wrong with finding something you like to do and doing that for the rest of your career as well. If you're a CRA and you got that senior CRA gig where you can work from home, you don't have to travel like a lunatic 30 days out of the month, you found work-life balance, you found peace, and you're happy, that's great. You don't need to have any aspirations. But if you do want aspirations, which many of you do, if you do have aspirations and you want to constantly grow and constantly elevate your career, this is a great industry to do that. So thank you very much for watching, Guru Nation. I will talk to you all soon. Take care.